Setup data is the data that is set up by your COC admins and system admins in relation to the projects that your agency offers. It's what tells the system what projects you can enroll a client into. It tells the system what grants should be associated with those projects. And it also tells the system what services you should have access to be able to record for your clients. While setup data and the following forms are not anything that an end user would have access to, I did want to show you what setup data looks like so that it can help you provide the relevant information to COC admins when they are setting up your projects. First thing we'll look at here is projects. So anytime we are adding a new project, there's going to be the project type. This is also by HUD called the HMIS project type sometimes. And these are a list of all the different project types. Now you can only have one project type per project. So there's no such thing as creating a project and having it cover multiple project types. There will only be one selection here. And if I go ahead and select one of these, now we'll also see a HOPWA type. And so, of course, in this training video, we are just looking at HOPWA projects. And so you will always have, for HOPWA projects, you will have the standard project type, and then you'll also have the HOPWA type. And we also saw that depending on what project type I choose, the HOPWA type might go away. And in this case, there is no such thing as a street outreach HOPWA program, and so that's why that goes away when I choose street outreach. However, when I click on transitional housing, we will see the 6 options that are the different HOPWA types. So something to note on this is even though I am choosing the transitional housing as the project type, the system would still allow me to go select something like permanent housing placement services for transitional housing, or any of these other options as well. And so I wanted to make this point to show the system would allow you to set up a project that has conflicting information. And so it's really important that the information you're providing your COC admin when they are setting up your projects is correct. And the resource you want to use on knowing how to set up your projects, or I should say how to relay that information to the COC admin of how it should be set up, is going to be your HOPWA program HMIS manual. If you Google HOPWA program HMIS manual, the first result should be HUD's Exchange website, and you should be able to always find the latest release of this. So you always want to make sure you have the latest version of this form. But if you are a HOPWA agency, I highly recommend you being very familiar with this document, as it has a lot of compliance information in here that's going to be relevant for your agency. And so, for instance, what we're talking about now is how the HMIS project type matches with the HOPWA program type. And so we can see here that if we had a permanent housing placement HOPWA program, well, that would always be set up as a services only under the HMIS project type. So what that would look like would be, we would say the project type is services only, and the HOPWA type is permanent housing placement. And we always want to make sure what we're telling our system admins or COC admins in regards to setting up projects lines up with what is in the guide here. And so that is project setup here and what's relevant for HOPWA specific projects. The other thing we need to look at is grants. So every project will need a grant that is associated with it, and that grant is going to have its own selections that we have to choose here. So every grant will have a federal grant program. For HOPWA, it's always going to be this one right here. And then there's going to be the grant program component where we get a more detailed type here. And so for the HOPWA federal grants, we will always have these 7 options right here. And so you want to make sure you choose the right one that goes along with that project that we just set up. And again, you want to refer to this manual as it has important information about both the grant and the project setup. And so you want to make sure that is correct as well. The other setup data piece is under services. We share services in Georgia's HMIS, and so there are going to be these defined HOPWA services already present in the system that you would be given access to utilize with your HOPWA project. And each of these will have a HOPWA service category assigned with them. And we can see here the different HOPWA service categories. So with services, because it is a shared setup data in the system, so that means when your agency hops on board with HMIS, we're not having to go create services fresh. We're just giving you access to these. Because of that, these should always be set up correctly. So there's not really anything you have to worry about with your HOPWA services being set up. The big thing is going to be your projects and grants, making sure those are set up and are compliant according to HUD's HOPWA program guide.